MZTV.
We are at the edge of the bottom of the Floridan peninsula. Not just me, but if you're watching the video, you can see that there's a gentleman to my right, and it is John Heth he's either from North Carolina or South Carolina.
South Carolina.
I can't figure it out.
Rock Hill, South
He's
Carolina.
from Rock Hill, South Carolina. You heard him at one time. We had, you gave a presentation at the conference in
Nebraska.
But he came down to visit here in Fort Lauderdale. He wanted to see where the action was. Had to come to the epicenter, and so he's here. And have you been disappointed at all?
Not at all. It's been a pleasure, and really an honor to visit MZTV headquarters. Not only to see you, but also to meet Juliana.
Yes, you met Juliana.
And Charles.
Charles, the official mascot of the Body of Christ.
To see the laundry room.
The laundry room.
And
yes.
now, of course, the spacious cottage.
Yes, it's spacious compared to the laundry room.
Yes.
And it's also an honor to have you down here. It's always great to fellowship with a fellow member of the Body of Christ. So I first met John in Richmond, Virginia. At
May
the
of
conference.
last year.
It was in May of last year. I have no idea when any of these things happened.
Memorial Day last year.
Okay, Memorial Day of last year, and that was sponsored by the Pirate, Mark Haukus,
yes.
And Greg Davis was also in on that. They worked together, and that's where I first met you. And it was at that time you pitched me the idea of doing audiobooks. You take it from here.
Well, I just, I've been so blessed by Martin's books, dating back to, I didn't even know about Martin until January of 2022. Now,
that's recent.
Didn't even know of you.
Really? I didn't realize it was that recent.
And then obviously dug in quite vociferously. And I had been narrating some Audible books post my retirement from a sales career. And I just felt that Martin's books needed to be on audio because there's a huge audience for audio. A lot of people like to listen to Audible books, when they're out walking or
and people had asked me about it over the years, and I had no idea how to do it. I was just over my head. I'm over my head every day. So when somebody said, "You have audio books?" I'm thinking, "Yeah, some other life maybe, but it's all I can do to get out the print books."
So I know that people would prefer to hear the author's own voice, but in Martin's case, he just has way too much stuff to do. It's a very time-consuming task in terms of the amount of editing that goes into producing an Audible book.
You mean you don't just do it perfect all the way through?
No, you don't. And so at any rate, once we got the okay from Martin, then it was a matter of getting cooperation from Amazon, because Audible is owned by Amazon. And in order to put a book make it available through Audible, it has to be listed for sale in a print fashion or the Kindle fashion on Amazon. Now some of Martin's books were already qualified for that, and so we started producing the ones that were available. Other ones we had to get Amazon to get them listed for sale, and we were able to do that. So we now have 10 Zender books that are available in audio format, which you can get either through Audible, Amazon itself, or iTunes. And it's not like there's a huge market for it, but I think to date, and the first book was, the first copy, or the first Audible copy, was sold in July of last summer, I think July 18th. So we're still less than a year into the project. I think we've gotten about 315, 320 sales of the 10 books.
That's a mob of people for what we do.
Well, it's
because not many people care about God, the true God, out there, and so we're happy to get anybody to come. I mean, it's not like we're desperate or anything, but we put it out and God brings the people. But again, the need has been there for a long time. People want audiobooks, and so.
And we really haven't been promoting other than Martin's website.
We don't promote.
The one thing that I've been doing, which is fun, I fancy myself as a wordsmith.
And you are that.
And I have been doing a lot of work on Twitter And now that Twitter's owned by Elon Musk, I'm probably doing more on Twitter. But it's a good way to promote Martin's work. And it's been very interesting, some of the interchange that I've had on Twitter with people who may not agree with Martin.
What? There's people out there that don't agree with me?
There are a couple of people.
Well, no, I don't want to hear about it. It's just
But anyway,
inconceivable.
if any of you listening to this or watching this are on Twitter, we would appreciate your help in the promotional aspect of this. You know, I'll post some of Martin's books on the YouTube Twitter channel, which has 75 million people that subscribe that follow YouTube. But you know, Billy Graham, Franklin Graham, Oprah Winfrey.
Don't listen to those people.
But it's a great way to get the word out on Martin's stuff, because anytime you post something to one of those accounts, a lot of people see it. So, at any rate, it's been very satisfying for me. Working on an 11th book now.
There's 14 altogether so far, but there's 3 more coming out.
Well, there's 14 that you've done. There are 10 that are on Audible.
Okay, so what you're telling me, let me see if I understand, is you cannot make an Audible book unless it's in print
or on Kindle.
Or on Kindle.
On
either
Amazon.
or.
Either or.
Okay, so even my books that are in print but not on Kindle, they can be made into an audiobook.
Yes.
Okay, and I apologize, folks, that we don't have all our books on Kindle yet. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things. So just thank you for your patience. It's just my sister and me, and we are, well, Kelly could tell you, we've been at this for 30 years, and we're just exhausted, and we feel like we're hanging on sometimes. And then we have new blood, somebody that's excited about it. He steps up, John did, to me when I was at the conference in Richmond, and he said, I really want to do these audiobooks. And like I said, it was just like a breath of energy. It was a shot of adrenaline, because we get in a rut, my sister and me, and we just sometimes take this for granted, which we shouldn't do. And we think we're doing enough just to get the show out, you know, and I make the show, she gets the show published every day, and then I have like 14 more books to publish, and I'm writhing in guilt every day because I don't have them out yet. And so you tend to get a little discouraged, and it's a terrible thing, folks, because it's just a cycle of, it doesn't get better. It just keeps going down. And then John came along, and it was such a shot of encouragement. It's like, you really want to do this? It's like, what? My mind's blown, because not many people, I mean, people help. Every one of you out there have helped me, but to have somebody come along like you and to say, this is a big deal, like, I actually want to read your books. And so it's been a great experience for us. Like I say, we need it.
Well, the 11th one, which one day will be available, we don't know when, is The Lie of Every Man's Battle. And that one is particularly gratifying for me in doing. I'm most of the way through it, my part of it, but that one has a female co-author, Heidi Colpo.
Right.
And so my daughter, who lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, close to where I live in South Carolina, is doing Heidi's part. And so that's been a big kick for me. She's very good at it. She's got, you know, we both have more to go on it, but one day when it's eligible for audio, we'll have it in the hopper pretty quickly.
I'm looking forward to hearing that. I just heard your voice, and John does an excellent job. He's a pro. He sent me samples of his work. He had done this before. He didn't just start with me. He had done this before, and he sent me samples, and I said, yeah, wow, you're the guy. And so The Lie of Every Man's Battle presented another problem, because, as John said, there was a female co-author, Heidi Colpo, and so you wondered about the possibility of getting your daughter to do it. I said, that would be amazing if she did it. And so she's doing it. So Courtney, thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this, because I don't know why, John, there are people out there who haven't bought this book yet, if you can believe it.
They haven't?
No. Some people haven't bought it yet.
Let me tell you a quick story.
Please,
about the Every Man's Battle was
the original book, the original
book by Arterburn and Stoker.
Yeah.
Came out, must have been 2010, something like that.
Probably.
Somewhere in there.
Maybe earlier.
At any rate, at that time, before I had escaped the church, we were involved in a Presbyterian church that had a school, And that book made its way through some of the mandatory reading in that school. I made my daughter read that book when she was like a freshman in college. And, I've repented of that sin. So
it was a sin, my friend. I hate to say it.
So there was so much damage done by that book.
Yes, and continues to be done.
Yeah, and so it's gratifying to be working on what Martin has produced, and that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. That book,
9 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, that book took me 4 years to write. Most of my books take me like 5 months, 4 or 5 months, but this book was a real labor. If you don't know of the original book, Every Man's Battle is just a Christian program that is against male sexuality. Male sexuality is evil, according to this book, according to the authors of this book. The testosterone in your bodies, men, is something to be fought, something to be conquered, not something to be enjoyed, not a gift of God, no. It's a trial to you, and it becomes a battle. The authors of this book introduced men to a battle they were never meant to fight. If you're fighting any battle against your nature, you're going to lose eventually because you're working against God. And so there's so much guilt and condemnation. And as you know, you've read the book and now you're reading it out loud, but there's a part in the book called Bouncing Your Eyes. And these morons who wrote, these spiritual peons, these complete and utter law-dependent, law-loving, finger-pointing Christians, they think that the creation of man was a misstep on God's part because women are pure and holy. But men, when you add a man to the equation, the evil begins because of the evil penis and the evil erection. These are sins and they must be stopped. And so they have a program called Bouncing the Eyes, John. You know that. Bouncing the Eyes. Oh, besides your male member and besides your, they also condemn the semen and the sacks that store the semen. They actually talk about this. Quotes from James Dobson about the sacks that hold the semen. These are evil. They're evil twins that God cursed man with. But, that's nothing compared to the eyes. The eyes must be conquered.
But, Martin.
Yes.
The one thing that book did for churches like my former church that would always have part of the worship service as confession of sin and assurance of pardon.
Oh.
Well, it gave lots of fodder for the confession of sin part.
Oh, yeah.
It filled it up.
It is human nature, especially for men and for women, to look at beauty, to notice beauty. And woman is the pinnacle of God's creation. She's the last thing God made. He hasn't made anything since. Woman is beautiful. And so, as John says, most men look at women just in passing. But the authors of this book don't even allow that. You're to bounce your eyes immediately, like you're taking your hand from a hot stove. That's a quote from the book. And the only time I ever bounce my eyes when it comes to women is if the woman's on a trampoline. That's the only time I will bounce my eye. Other than that, it's terrible. So look, you're doing a service to the human race. I did a service to the human race to read this book. I really did. Yeah. I'm so proud of this book. It's the second most important book I've written after The First Idiot in Heaven. So if anybody does not have that book, if you are a man or if you know a man, that's a pretty big, broad audience.
Pretty big.
This book is for you, and most everybody's been touched by organized religion and the condemnation, and most men feel guilty about their appreciation of the female. And if they don't feel guilty, they're made to feel guilty by their wives, by their girlfriends, by their mothers. That's why Heidi Kolpo, I asked her to be a co-author because people would say, "Oh, you're a male. You just have the male viewpoint." Like, that's all I got. That's all I got. But I do know a female who is a mother of 4, and a wife, and she contributed priceless pieces of writing to that book. And so I look forward to that publication.
So we'll get it done one day.
We got off on a roll there, but it is such an evil, incalculable, the families that have been broken up because of the condemnation heaped upon men just for being natural. And I've said this often, you probably heard me say this, if Satan wants to ruin society, which he does. All he has to do is ruin the family unit. And if he wants to ruin the family unit, all he has to do is break up husbands and wives.
Yeah.
And in order to break up husbands and wives, he has completely skewed the topic of sex. And it is sex that has broken couples up, that has ruined marriages and ruined children who are suffering from divorce. And so if the correction is made at the source, which is an appreciation of human sexuality, then everything else heals. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the beginning of the healing of society begins with an understanding of sex, sexual desire, men's sexual desire, women's sexual desire, and this artificial condemnation placed on it by the Christian religion, who's taken upon themselves to basically condemn all things sexual. They love eternal torment. They'll just talk about how everybody's going to go to hell forever, but don't talk about sex. That's the real evil. Isaiah said, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. That's exactly what Christianity has done. They call good, which is human sexuality. God made the male, and he said it was good. God made the man's eyes, and he said they were good. He made the sex and the semen, and he said it was good. It's not evil. Christianity says it's evil, but they call eternal torment good. They're a little screwed up here in the head, in the heart, everywhere. So this man's going to bring this book to life.
As soon as Amazon puts it up for sale.
Well, we have a little problem with Amazon, but doesn't everybody?
At any rate, Martin, thank you very much for hosting me today.
You're welcome.
It's been a
It's
pleasure.
been nice to have you visit.
This is a great place to visit. Martin could use some friends dropping in every now and then.
Every now and then
constantly.
stop by,
Yeah,
and I'm happy that your wife and your daughter and your grandkids, your son-in-law let you go for a little bit. So,
Yep.
nice to have you.
All right, very good.
Stop back
Thank
sometime and keep up. Thanks everybody out there for the support. And this guy's doing the Lord's work, so we'll keep you informed when new products become available. All right.